A parent told iAfrica TV that the grades of her child dropped due to the restrictions imposed on schools amid the COVID-19 pandemic. CDS Drame urged soldiers to be protectors of the civilians rather than their aggressors. Hike in prices of food in Nigeria push 7 million people into poverty, a new World Bank reports indicate. These and more coming on The World Today. Hello and welcome to the World Today newscast with me, Julde Njai Suare. Now the news in detail. The emergence of COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the educational systems in many countries, including the Gambia. The closure of schools across the country during the peak of the pandemic, the performance of school children dropped significantly. Now parents are worried. One of them told iAfrica TV that she is concerned of her child's performance due to the lack of regular schools attendance. Details in this report.
In order to keep children safe from contracting the coronavirus, the Ministry of Education has limited the days in which students are supposed to go to school. In some schools in the Gambia, students attend classes only twice a week, leaving some parents worried about the state of their children's educational outlook. Speaking to iAfrica TV, Rohisi, a parent, said the newly introduced school attendance system affected her child's performance. She appeals to the Ministry of Education to allow students to attend classes normally through the week.
Since grade 7, because grade 7, 2 days they got them.
For my child, it has affected her a lot since grade 7 because that was the grade she was going for 2 days, Thursdays and Saturdays. So now they have changed that when they went to grade 8, this time is 3 days a week. She did not complete her syllabus in grade 7 and 8, and now what is she going to do when she reaches grade 9?
Fatma Tarawale, a grade 9 student of the New Life Academy Center, told iAfrica TV that the limited days that have been introduced are affecting them.
Yeah, it affects a lot, especially with the grade 9s. It affects us a lot. And we need a time, that it will favor us. A constant time, that Monday to Friday we should be coming to school. Because these 4 days of coming to school, due to that we are not able to even cover a lot of topics. So it won't even help us in our exams.
Despite the growing concern, the Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education said not every school is affected by the new school restriction.
Like I said, we have what we call the alternation method or model, whereby certain children have to go for certain days and another group has to go for another number of days. But that is to affect only 23 schools nationally. And they are found mainly in the combos. Because even in Banjul, it used to be Gambia High School that was affected, and Muslim high school is not affected because the population is not much as it used to be. Schools like St. Teresa's, Ladikunda, these are the big schools. And nationally, 23 of them were supposed to be doing that.
According to Mr. Job, the school restrictions are meant to protect students from contracting the virus, but admitted that it could also affect their academic performance.
Yeah, I mean, we would say it has, because when you look at the contact hours, as I said, internationally, we're talking about 888 hours that children need to have contact with their teachers in every academic year. Now, obviously, if you were supposed to be going 5 and now you are going 3 days, for example, you are losing some time. So that would actually affect your contact time. And the fact that your contact time is affected, we can assume very reasonably that it can affect academics.
After the country registered its first coronavirus case on 17 March, schools, lumos, bars, nightclubs and other public places were closed to minimize the spread of the virus, which claimed at least 117 lives in the country. The Gambia has made important gains in ensuring access to education, but now the focus falls on learning outcomes, which is a huge challenge in the educational effort to ensure quality education for all Gambian children. For iAfrica News, I am Aistubiai Kujabi.
A parent raised concern over the low grades of her child. Now, villagers in Manduar in the West Coast region have on Tuesday clashed over the alcalship and attestation for voter registration in the said village. They accused the government of causing the commotion in the village among themselves. Were arrested and over 3 others injured, one of which was rushed to the hospital. More in this report by Binta Jallo.
A village in the West Coast region had serious clashes among themselves earlier on Tuesday. The clash was between the people of Tuba Manduar and Manduar Mandinka. As tension escalated, the police intervention unit was deployed to arrest the situation, but ended up throwing tear gas to disperse the mob. The Independent Electoral Commission, Assistant Inspector General of Police, the National Assembly member for Marakisa constituency, and other senior government officials came to the village and held a meeting with some of the villagers to see ways of settling the problem, but their efforts bear no fruit. Fansumane, a younger brother to the village alcalo, said the police went into his compound and threw tear gas at his pregnant wife, which led to her being rushed to the hospital immediately.
So brani wa kele don paral na da katiaga so fay mol kono registered la katante fon la so kono na so fela koma jang.
The police intervention unit came here and started throwing tear gas at us. They even went to my house where my pregnant wife was sitting at the time, and they threw tear gas at her. She fell on her stomach, and as we speak, she is at the hospital. This is what is happening here. Just look at the road. You can notice that a lot of them are standing here.
The National Assembly member for the constituency, Honorable Lamin Sane, said the situation is very alarming, further explaining the root cause of the problem.
Other places did their registration, no complaint. But why Manduar Tuba specifically? And they are claiming that I had this story, because that's why I want to go and meet the alkali, especially to hear from the horse's mouth whether he has been given that authority to be an alkali. Are they a village of their own, or they are within Manduar? So this is what I want to know. And why should they bring? Because 2016 there was election in Manduar here, and this was done smoothly. If they were all registered here and they all voted here.
According to Bubakar Seka, the alcalo of Tuba Manduar, they went through the right process but were attacked by the people of Manduar Mandinka.
When we went there to set up, they took our tables and threw it behind the mosque. We did not fight them or even quarrel with them. So they left and fought Umar and wounded him. And another boy called Ngari They are at the hospital right now.
Attestation has been a problem in the country since the start of the voter registration process. About 7 people were arrested by the Gambia police force and at least 3, namely Omar Cisse, Ngari Gay and Maud Cisse, were injured during the protests. For IFK News, Binta Jallo.
Now, in their efforts to cope the further spread of the contagious Delta variant, South African authorities are speeding up its vaccination drive. The Delta variant, which was first discovered in India, appears to be driving South Africa in new cases, according to the President Cyril Ramaphosa. The country recorded over 1,954,000 cases of the virus and more than 60,000 deaths as of Wednesday. Details of that in this report.
South African authorities have confirmed that the Delta variant is responsible for many of the new infections in KwaZulu-Natal and the third wave of infections in Gauteng province.
These viruses need to continue mutating to try to evade the immune responses that's been targeted against the virus so that it can continue surviving and continue propagating essentially. So that is when you have these mutations which are basically making the virus relatively resistant to the antibody that is targeting specific proteins that are on the surface, which otherwise would be able to get rid of the virus.
As the variant spread, authorities have opened hundreds of vaccination sites. 58 of those are targeting the mining sector and currently going through the registration process.
We have now 5 sites that are vaccinating. The first site was on the 24th of May in the Platinum Belt, and I think we are at least satisfied that we have got something in Platinum, in the Northwest Province, which has the largest number of mine workers. We also have 2 sites in the coal sector, and we also have 2 other sites in the gold sector.
South Africa, like many other African countries, has suffered from a shortage of vaccines.
The vaccine shortage has not had as big an impact on us as the fact that our sites had not yet been approved. So we hope that, with more sites being approved, the issue of vaccine shortage will not be an issue, and it means we can really ramp up on the side of there's more sites, but there's also more vaccines available.
On a broader level, it's been suggested that experts will think differently about vaccines in future.
It's unlikely that we're going to be able to prevent resurgences from taking place or to stop the virus from circulating. In fact, elimination of this virus is no longer an option in the immediate future, and certainly not during the course of our lifetimes.
As the country moves into that next level of lockdown, there's some questions being asked about whether all the measures and restrictions that have been put in place are actually going to make a difference. The bottom line is we need vaccines, we need vaccinations, and they need to be done quickly.
South Africa speed up their vaccination drive amid increase in COVID-19 cases. Now, Zimbabwe, like many other African countries, has seen a significant increase in digital money transactions thanks to the outbreak of the coronavirus global pandemic. More than 7.5 million mobile wallets were registered in Zimbabwe out of an estimated population of more than 14 million people. Details of that in this report.
A market where hard cash was formerly king has been rapidly transformed into a predominantly cashless marketplace. According to the World Bank, there are over 7.5 million mobile wallets registered here out of an estimated 14 million population.
We are a country that has got at least 91-92% literacy rates, which means we are ready to embrace technology whenever it comes our way. On another note, remember, we are a country that is driven by digital money. When I say digital money, we like our EcoCash, we like our mobile money, and we don't have physical money. That means 96% of our transactions are what? Are electronic.
The growth has been driven not just by the long-running shortage of bank notes, but also the convenience that mobile transactions offer and a government push to widen financial inclusion. Due to the highly informalized nature of the economy, as much as 70% of the population is unbanked. That's according to 2020 statistics from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. However, the high prevalence of mobile wallets here means many of those who are unbanked can still be part of the financial ecosystem. Going forward, experts see other forms of digital currency thriving.
Zimbabwe is actually way ahead when you look at accepting this digital currency, mobile money, credit cards, and all those things. Yeah, we are on the right path. Everybody now is embracing digital currency. Look at it, even the Reserve Bank is talking about bitcoins being an official currency. In short, it is good because we now have a currency that we can trade in.
Government says it intends to build on the strides made in digital transformation by opening up more community information centers and commissioning mobile base stations in the remotest parts of the country to deepen mobile and internet penetration.
Now, the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Yakuba A. Drame, has on Tuesday held a meeting with the soldiers in Block military camp as part of his ongoing nationwide military tour. While addressing the gathering, the CDS urged soldiers not to be aggressors to civilians, but rather be their protectors and saviors as they constitute the majority in society. Amindao tells us more.
For a betterment of any country, the relationship between the military and the civilians should always be cordial. There is always peace, security, and development in any country where there is mutual collaboration and trust between the military and the civil society. As ensuring peace and security is everybody's business, promoting and safeguarding national security is the responsibility of all, including the civilian population. The Chief of Defense Staff, Yakuba A. Drame, shared his thoughts with the soldiers on how to strengthen a good working relationship with the civilians.
It behoves you and I to cultivate and sustain a healthy working relationship with your brothers and sisters outside uniforms. If you look at it, we're all from homes, and we shall all go back to homes. Today we are privileged to wear uniform, because that's our choosing career. But remember, come May, one day, whether we like it or not, either by design or circumstances, we may want to cast down this uniform and go back to civil life. Now, if you leave, how do you want to be embraced back into the society? How do you want to reintegrate into the society? Ask yourself those questions. Whatever you do in life, strongly I can share this with you, it's temporal. There is nothing permanent. Before me, there were CDS. Today I'm the CDS. Tomorrow somebody will come as a CDS.
As civilians compose the majority, CDS urged his men to protect and save their lives and not to be their aggressors.
I'm impressed. I've been told that you have a good working relationship with the locals of this village. That is what is expected. You cannot have it less than that, but rather see how you can further enhance the relationship between you and the community that constitute the majority. We're just a drop in the ocean. They are in the majority, and we should be seen as their protectors and their saviors, not aggressors. Anybody found one thing, it is not going to be taken lightly.
Since such a relationship is healthy for every nation, it is a challenge for all democratic governments to ensure a more cordial civil-military relationship. The protection of any country's sovereignty and territorial integrity is the primary function of the military. Meanwhile, the military tour, which commenced on Monday, 21st June 2021, is aimed at getting first-hand information on the living and working conditions of the soldiers. The tour also includes the inspection of ongoing building projects at barracks, meant to ease accommodation for the men and women serving in the country's armed forces. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
CDS Drame call on the soldiers to be protectors and saviors of the civilians rather than their aggressors. Now, President Adama Barrow landed at the Banjul International Airport at 8 p.m. on Tuesday upon completing a 7-day visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He had engagements with Saudi authorities and signed a memorandum of understanding with charity organizations as well as officials of the opening of the multi-million-dollar complex of the embassy and ambassador's residence in Riyadh. Omar Ahmadu Toure tells us more.
The president performed a lesser pilgrimage, Umrah, and carried out other official functions during the week-long stay in Saudi. The president talked to the press about his trip at the foot of the aircraft upon his return.
And we engaged with the Saudi authorities in a wide-ranging issue. That's what I see. And we engage also with our partners, the Islamic Development Bank, the Saudi Fund. We also engage with charity organizations. We signed a memorandum of understanding with First Lady Foundation. Basically, it was a very busy trip, and we also performed Umrah and prayed for this country. We have for peace, we have for us to organize a very peaceful and prosperous election.
The 15th Organization of Islamic Cooperation Summit set to hold in Gambia has suffered some setbacks in the infrastructure development, which warranted shifting it to 2022. Barrow had an audience with the sponsors and partners, especially Saudi Fund.
Saudi Fund, they are the one funding the OIC roads, and we have sent our reports. We are still waiting for confirmation, and we engage them so that definitely we are behind schedule. So we want their confirmation. Also very soon we will have something to start the process.
Fatuba Barrow's foundation has come under criticism when about $35 million was transferred into the foundation's Guaranteed Trust Bank account in 2017. This brought outrage among Gambians who sought an explanation. The source of that money still remains unknown. However, President Barrow signed an agreement with two charities in Saudi and says they bankrolled the First Lady's foundation.
I was Barrow to saying that this is a memorandum of understanding. These are charity organizations and they are supporting the foundation. But there were no official memorandum of understanding agreement between them. They are signed those agreements. It is now formalized. I think Gambia will benefit from it. Thank you so much.
The Gambia will take over chairmanship of Organization of Islamic Cooperation from Saudi Arabia when it hosts the world's biggest Islamic convergence by June next year. The country has prioritized 6 projects for OIC. Among them is construction of a double-lane road along Batil Harding Highway, 20 overroads that links it, a conference center among others. With exactly 12 months away from the summit, it is only the conference center that has been completed, so the country's chance of hosting the 2022 Organization of Islamic Conference is very slim. Reporting for iAfrica TV, this is Umar Ahmadu Toure.
President Adama Barrow returned to Banjul after a 7-day working visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That story will take us to our first break. Still to come, it's more local and international news. Do stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is the World Today newscast with me, Julden Jaisware. Now to the rest of our stories. Lawmakers in Banjul have on Tuesday continued the consideration and scrutinization process of the Persons with Disabilities Bill 2020. The country's parliamentarians were given the opportunity to make detailed consideration and scrutinizing of the bill, as well as make some amendments before the final adoption. Daisise tells us more.
The bill is intended to make provisions for the healthcare, protection and promotion of basic rights for persons with disabilities. In the Gambia, Many people with disabilities said they face social stigma, discrimination, and prejudice for various reasons. However, nominated member Ndeya Senseka, who is representing the visually impaired persons at the National Assembly, proposed that the Assembly should not continue with the UN conventions as this may not be applicable for the Gambia, looking at the condition of disabilities in the country.
When we are saying that the international law should be followed, I think this is, we are domesticating it because we have already ratified the UN Convention and we have signed it. So we should not continue with what the UN say because something may be applicable in other countries but not applicable in our country, especially persons with disabilities. So instead of saying to minimize, I think we should try, because we started that yesterday and we did not complete. I think we should say to eradicate is what we need. Like what is happening in the Gambia, what are we minimizing? Look at the plight of persons with disability. Where are we and where are we heading at? I think we should make it better than following what the international. It's true, we should follow the international, but we should also look at what is applicable in our country.
Part of the consideration of the bill is Clause 3, which consists of the disabilities coding, which shall determine if impairment has a long-term effect on a person in Section 3 of the bill. As some of the lawmakers proposed the omission of this clause from the bill, due to lack of clarity, the Minister of Women's Affairs, Children and Social Welfare, Fatu Kinte, made some clarification on the clause before it was amended.
The law is coming up with a mechanism to provide coding. Yes, because the law cannot do the coding. The mechanism here is we are going to get an expert who will do the coding. So the law is making provision for a mechanism for the coding. Yeah.
The principle of the Disabilities Bill is meant to promote human freedoms, respect for human dignity, as well as individual choices and the independence of persons with disabilities. Although the Constitution of the Gambia clearly guaranteed the freedom of fundamental human rights and equality for all in the country, the lives of persons with disabilities are handicapped by physical and social barriers in the society. This hampers their full participation as thousands of them in all parts of the country often face life that is seemingly segregated and debased. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Lawmakers, they are considering or scrutinizing the Persons with Disabilities Bill 2020. Now with that story, we head to Nigeria because the prices of food in Nigeria have drastically increased, accounting for over 60% of the total increase in inflation, according to a new report by the World Bank. The rise in prices have pushed an estimated 7 million Nigerians below the poverty line in 2020 alone. In order to tackle the menace, the report highlighted the need for Nigeria to reduce inflation by promoting inclusive growth and job creation, and also helped small and medium businesses gain access to finance. We have more of that in this report.
This market is normally one of Abuja's go-tos for cheap foodstuffs, but that has changed over recent weeks. Some shoppers here say the hike in food prices has gone to absurd level.
I came to the market with a budget to buy some foodstuff that lasts me for a month. But funny enough, I could not even get enough. And it's so sad, it's so heartbreaking right now.
The hike, more than 100% of what we used to buy, it's really ridiculous. Everything is high. The meat, egg was usually 1,900. Now we're buying for 1,500. I really don't know. I don't know how we want to survive.
About 41% of the 200 million Nigerians live in poverty, and that figure is now worsening. The World Bank reports of 7 million more people slipping into poverty due to inflation. In February, the country recovered from a recession it slipped into last year due to impact from the coronavirus and global fall in oil prices. Yet, Nigeria's economy is import-driven, meaning the country exchanges its naira for foreign currencies like the dollar to ship in products needed for consumption.
One of the major causes of inflation is our exchange rate. Imagine some years back that dollar was 160 something and 170. If you bring in good that period, it is in that comparison that the price of your good is. Now, dollar is what? Dollar is around almost call it 480 something. That's even official. If you go to unofficial, you'll get it worse. And by the time you bring in good, imagine how much it's going to be. Our inflation is not basically the COVID. COVID could be a part of it.
The country's Bureau of Statistics says the inflation rate is currently 17.9%, up from 12.4% the same period last year, with food prices accounting for over 60% of the total increase in inflation. Experts say until the country focuses more on producing enough food to feed its population and then ramp up exports, the inflation problem will continue to linger.
In order to drive down inflation, there must be economic activities. You must produce goods and services, and such goods and services have to sell in both local and international markets. We should look at agriculture. Agriculture gives the economy a base. That's why we say that agriculture is the mainstay of most economies in the world.
President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged to tackle rising inflation problems in the country while instructing the central bank not to give any money for food importation, rather issue more credit facilities to local farmers and food processors.
It's not clear how long the initiatives of the government will have a direct impact on the prices of foods at the markets, but the hope is that with such efforts, the inflation rates will be brought down to a barest minimum.
That could mean that more consumers can increase their buying power and avoid living below the poverty line of $1.90 per day.
Well, that's all we have for you on the World Today News Bulletin. Many thanks indeed for the pleasure of your company. Up next is the Gambia 24 with Amadou Kante. Do have a nice evening. Bye-bye.